All righty. Dirty Sports episode, well, I was going to say 100, 812 live on YouTube in 5, 4, 3. Welcome to the Dirty Sports Podcast. I am your host, Andy Ruther, coming to you live from Cincinnati, Ohio, with my co-host from Los Angeles, California, Joey No Chill Prano.
Good morning, Andy.
Morning.
Mid-morning here on the West Coast. Late morning, apparently, in Arizona, where Randy Ruther is texting us as we speak that this podcast is not starting early enough for him.
Oh,
Randy, moved to some place with daylight savings, buddy. It's still 10:30 for the rest of us.
he needs that early morning, late morning, dirty sports fix.
I'm just getting up and at him here.
Arizona's weird. I still haven't figured it out. I'm 40 years old. So the time they're with the West Coast part of the year, and part of the year they're central, or I'm sorry, West Coast or the mountain.
Correct.
But they're mountain right now.
I believe so, right? Because we would spring forward. We haven't sprung forward yet.
We do next Sunday.
Right.
So then they're back on the Pacific Standard Time.
Correct. I think. I don't know. I honestly don't know how it works.
I feel like we've wasted a lot of time on this in the past.
Yeah.
Like,
I guess if we would spring forward, yeah, then they would
stay.
I don't know. Justin, tell us what time it is where you are right now.
It's funny. Justin said he wasn't going to be all consumed. He's all consumed by Bengals.
Yeah.
Like, he texted me some screenshots. I guess Jesse Bates unfollowed the Bengals. You know, that's a big contract negotiation right now.
Okay.
With their safety. He's really good.
Right.
He's 24. And
this is such a weird thing that they do, the unfollowing on Instagram.
That was Twitter, but yes. Same thing.
Twitter. Okay.
Like mid-contract negotiations.
Yeah.
So, I was like, yeah, that's when I was like, dude, I wouldn't like, he was good and he played great in the playoffs. I was like, but it's just the O-line. Like, it's just like all the O-line. If I'm a Bengals fan, that's all I care about. Like, you can replace a very good safety, an O-line, that's what you need. I heard the wildest take yesterday. I would argue one of the worst takes I've ever heard.
Wow. That's a hot take from Andy, just about takes.
Yeah.
What's the worst take you've ever heard? One of the worst takes you've ever heard.
I heard yesterday from someone that Joe Burrow was going to be the next Baker Mayfield, which one doesn't make sense. And when questioned, saying he's never like, he'll have one good year and be done. And I was like, I didn't want to get into it with this person based on the circumstance, but I wanted to say to him, Joe Burrow in his second year took the Bengals to the Super Bowl. Baker Mayfield in his second or third year won one playoff game. Statistically, they're not even close. What they did is not like, and then he's like, yep, one and done, just like Baker. And I'm like, it was such a bad take that made no sense. I didn't even know what to say.
Yeah, that's a horrible take. I mean, honestly, I would argue that his like Baker Mayfield, like I'd honestly argue Baker Mayfield just like had the ups and downs of an early quarterback's career. And, while I'm not the world's biggest Baker Mayfield fan, especially since apparently he wanted less talented receivers on his team, which to me is more of a intellectual issue than a physical issue. But I would argue Baker Mayfield is TBD, and Joe Burrow, in taking a team to the Super Bowl in his first full season, has proven himself. So it's like, I don't even think they're in the same conversation right now.
Well, they're not. And then this person went on to say, it turned into this cockiness discussion, like, just like Baker, too cocky. You think you did everything. And I'm thinking, what are you talking about, man? Like, too cocky. Joe Burrow has confidence. Maybe some will call it cocky, but like those two, Baker Mayfield was going at Colin Cowherd from day one.
Yeah, I don't remember like Joe Burrow taking a flag out to like the center of the field and like putting it in, or like, playing the guitar or whatever, like
running from the cops.
Yeah. I don't know if that factors into the cockiness level, but yeah.
But just like I'm saying, the history.
Yeah.
Anyway, I was like, dude, that's even comparing those two, I was like, this is just such a bad all-time take. And I can't, it's one of those, like, I can't even entertain this take. It's so bad.
Yeah, that's a horrible take.
Don't make me pull out the card. Dude, I host a sports podcast twice a week. I read so much shit. This is my livelihood.
Was this a Browns fan?
I have no clue what this guy was.
Was it Slubadub? Because when I hear horrific toilet water takes and the Browns are involved, I usually think of Slubadub.
Unbelievable. By the way, Slubadub, he loves the attention that we give him. So you're welcome, Slubadub. Did a Reddit post mocking you and I and our quote unquote LeBron slurping. And then it proceeded to make no sense at all. I don't know if you saw that.
I didn't see it, but
it was like, Jonah just slurping LeBron. And then it was
Cleveland fans, man. They'll never get over it. And the guy delivered you a championship. The guy did the unthinkable, and you guys are still butthurt about it.
Well, it was
the absolute butthurt. He did, to put it into Slubadub's terms, he said he was going to build a wall, and he built a wall. He didn't leave with the wall half finished with people climbing over it, around it, and through it. He said he was going to build you a wall. He built a wall. That's in terms Slubadub should understand.
Well, a Brown or a Browns, Cavs, whatever. If you're a Cleveland sports fan, exactly. I don't know how you could be like I don't know. I would think you would be the opposite way. Like you'd be so LeBron.
Like our boy Justin Wood, like a reasonable Ohio sports fan.
Also, yeah, a title, man. Like to Cleveland.
In Cleveland.
Like it wasn't even about basketball. It was about the whole sports, all sports in that city. Anyway, yeah. There are people who have wild takes out there. I mean,
well, anyway, I know that our LeBron love tends to leave some people butthurt, mostly like, people stuck in 90s basketball, LeBron haters, whatever. But this is a great segue into just LeBron scoring 56 at age 37. This is bananas, dude. The Warriors are spiraling.
Yeah, they are.
LeBron scores 56. You hate to say, like, I truly, I'm a LeBron fan, but I don't care for the Lakers at all. Like, I used to root like low key for the Lakers as a kid, and like not root for them, but just like enjoyed them, enjoyed the colors, enjoyed Magic Johnson, enjoyed thinking about LA, loved Showtime, like thought it was great. The Kobe, the post Shaq Kobe era kind of killed my love of the Lakers entirely. And now I don't care for them. Obviously I root for LeBron, but dare I say, like the Lakers hanging around, just like milling around with LeBron scoring 50. Like, I mean, they beat the Warriors. You got to be like, well, any given night, LeBron James can just be LeBron James.
Yeah, but I think this one's different, though. I mean, I said that. I just think watching them play, I just think, obviously that's a great game. I just don't see them doing anything.
But you see them making the playoffs.
I don't know. I mean, my trust right now, again, it goes back to Anthony Davis.
Of course it does. But if LeBron James is scoring 50 points, keeping their head above water until an Anthony Davis return. Yeah, I mean, I don't think they're winning the NBA championship, but
But I don't trust Anthony Davis once he gets back. That's what I'm saying. I just, at this point, I don't know on him. I mean, they're currently a 9 seed. They're 4.5 back of the 8 seed Clippers, who you just saw last night.
I did. Clippers Knicks at crypto.com arena.
Was that your first time at crypto.com? As crypto.com?
I went once before earlier this season with Clipcast host Chris Wild. I call it the Chris Wildo.com arena. But I don't know if it was official the last time I went.
Now, when you go to a a Clippers Knicks game, give me a breakdown of that.
A lot of Knicks fans.
I was going to say, with all the transplants.
Yeah, a lot of Knicks fans.
Half or no?
Maybe not half, but I would say, here's what I'll say. I would say 50-50 split between people in Knicks gear and people in Clippers gear. When you go to a Clippers game, there's a lot of people that are just like at a Clippers game, it feels like. Where you don't see like a lot of like Clippers jerseys or Clippers hats. I would say 50-50 people in merch, but I'll take the indifferent people, at least in dress. I'll just, I'm giving them the benefit of the doubt that the majority of them are Clippers fans, I guess.
Yeah, that makes sense.
But it was a fun game. Knicks kind of led it the whole way. Huge lead. Dwindled in the third quarter, as many a Knicks leads do. No lead is safe when you're the New York Knicks. So it seemed like it was going to become a game. They got it down to 12, I believe, and that was as close as they got. Some young fun from the Knicks. Big game from RJ Barrett, big game from Quickly, big fourth quarter from Cam Reddish. Just instant offense. Just add water, a little Cam Reddish in the fourth. Just it still makes me so sad that the Knicks didn't move all the fucking shitty veterans. That like this team needs to be just youth, and of course Tom Thibodeau, who Chris Wilde pointed out, busy playing the Penguin in the Batman movie. Still sticking with the veterans, but it was a nice game. It was fun. It's good to see a Knicks win, even if it cost us a draft position, probably.
Was that game? I assume that game would be sold out, correct or no?
It was not.
It was not.
It was actually. I mean, I don't know about technically, but it was very light. It was light in the whole area. I think Sunday night, Knicks pretty terrible. Clippers kind of, been playing relatively well prior to that. People probably figure blowout. It was a blowout for the Knicks, baby.
Are we ready to reevaluate Ty Lue at this point at all? You have to say they haven't had their two big guys. They're in the West. They're still in the playoffs. They're still winning games. I'll just say, look, we've been critical of him, but like he's getting. It's not easy when your two big stars are out and your team still plays well. That's to me good coaching.
Absolutely, but here's the thing. I mean, NBA coaches in particular, you have to judge them based on like their management of a roster, their management of minutes, their management of the day-to-day of running a basketball team. And he's obviously pretty good at that. Then there's when it comes down to clutch, crunch time, NBA playoffs, is he going to get out coached? Is he not going to get out coached? Like I'm going to say off the top of my head, like without a doubt, like I'll have, 8 NBA coaches I'll take in a crunch time situation over Ty Lue. That's not thinking of anybody in particular, but just like, that's probably the ballpark of guys that I would safely say this guy and this guy and this guy and this guy. So that's really what it comes down to, right? Because I mean, in the NBA, obviously, it's not quote unquote a Super Bowl or bust league like the NFL. You still got to put a good team on the floor, make the playoffs, all that stuff. seating matters, position matters, all that stuff. But in the end, like, it would be nice to feel like you have a basketball coach that can win you games.
Sure. But the Warriors are sliding, and you mentioned that, and obviously they started so hot. So, if you look at the standings, they're now tied for second.
Yeah.
With Memphis. Utah's right behind them.
Memphis, bro. Unbelievable. Can we just I just want to do it again. I know I saw a tweet this morning. Who is the NBA MVP? And I believe it was Giannis, Embiid, and Jokic were the three in the tweet. Yeah, I'm just like, we're just gonna let Memphis be second in the West, and Ja Morant's not gonna be a smaller little box in that thing.
But why is he not getting that the national love? Why is he not getting that for MVP?
I mean, listen, I understand saying right now that Ja Morant isn't, maybe a valid MVP. He's not in the conversation, but I almost feel like.
But why not?
If you're putting it,
is my question. Why not?
It's a great question, but I think the bottom line is if you're just putting a row, if you're just trying to start a Twitter convo, if we're just saying, hey, let's talk about everybody, it's kind of the Cooper Kupp of the NBA to me this year. It's like, what's happening that we're not talking about him? I mean, yeah. I guess maybe in terms of just as compared to those guys, but still, I mean, they're a great young team, but he's the guy.
Sure. Yeah. I know we keep saying it, but it's like, man, he was your number one pick if you were going to redo this.
Right. Oh, yeah. I mean, that's long settled, right?
Yeah, I think so, right?
Oh, yeah. I mean, I settled on that. I mean, he's played 50-ish games, I think. And they're, so he missed a few games, but he's, he didn't miss a third of their games. I think he's played 50 games and they've played 65 or whatever. Let me look it up. He's played 52 games and they've played 66 games. So, he missed 14 games.
Yeah. I mean, it's just, what the point guard in that position, the quarterback of the floor, how important it is.
And now he's just doing things. I mean, you saw the highlight from last week.
With 52.
Yeah, but the two plays at the end of the first half together. Yeah. I mean, honestly, maybe the greatest in-game dunk I've seen in I don't know how long. I don't know the next one on my list. I don't know the next most recent one. That was just oh my God. And then the end of the half, the 0.4 seconds jumping full, dude, to catch a ball thrown that far, has to have a certain amount of velocity on it to catch it and get it off in 0.4 seconds on the baseline to go in. Oh, man. Listen, RJ Barrett has become a great player for the New York Knicks. I'm ecstatic at the development of RJ Barrett, who's now 21 years old. But it's kind of obvious. You redo all that over. You're going Ja 1, Barrett 2, Zion 3.
Sure. No, for sure.
But God damn, if we hadn't just gotten the second pick.
Yeah. Well, I see with him, and I'm sure you've seen this on Twitter. A lot of people are doing the early Derrick Rose comparisons with how they play and their explosiveness and the dunks and just what they can do for their teams. And obviously, Derrick Rose, I believe, didn't he get the Bulls to a number one seed pretty quickly in his career?
Yes, he did.
When he won the MVP?
Yeah.
So you're seeing a lot of those comparisons. Which I think are fair.
Totally. Honestly, I think I'll say this. I think even with Derrick Rose peaking as an MVP, and I love Derrick Rose. Derrick Rose is great. I think Ja Morant's upside is higher than Derrick Rose's ever was, even when he was healthy.
I can see that.
In terms of creativity, in terms of like, you know, it was a different time, but Derrick Rose was kind of like the, you know, put your head down, get to the rack. He's scoring, he's whatever. And not that he wasn't, but like Ja's facilitating ability is like the ceiling's higher, in my opinion.
Yeah, no, I can see that for sure. Well, another basketball news before we get to a recap of winning time, which you and I are kind of chomping to do. Coach K is done as far as regular season, which is crazy. Like I kind of like forgot about this, that he was leaving.
Yeah.
And they lose in his final game, which I think is kind of fitting. But I don't know. Is
it kind of fitting?
Well, fitting in a way of like, I like when that shit happens.
Yeah.
Like Duke's an 11.5 point favorite.
Now they'll go on some crazy fucking postseason run.
So
I know nothing about college. Like, is Duke good this year?
Yeah, they're good. They're top 5.
Okay. I love Duke.
So I had to pull up. I'm pulling up right now. You know, he's by far the most wins. I'm a little shocked, to be honest, at some of these people that make the top 10 college wins. Coach K, and I don't know if this is the most recently updated. No, this is before this season.
I mean, I don't even know where, like the only guys like Coach K, Boeheim, Roy Williams.
Well, yeah, you're pretty close. So it goes in order, starting with Coach K at number 1. It goes Coach K, Boeheim's number 2, Jim Calhoun's number 3, Roy Williams is number 4.
Bobby Knight in there. Okay.
Number 5. Number 6 is Bob Huggins.
Okay.
Well, you figure just the longevity.
Yeah.
Between Cincinnati and West Virginia. Number 7 is Dean Smith. Number 8, Adolph Rupp. 9, Jim Phelan, who coached for like 40 years at Mount St. Mary's. And the number 10, old Villanova coach, Rolly Massimino. It's just, I don't know. It's like these guys fucking coach, man. Coach K he's coached 46 seasons.
As a head coach? No.
Yeah.
Wow. That's crazy.
Yeah, because he coached Army from 75 to 80, and he's coached at Duke since 1980.
That's crazy. That is crazy.
I want to know what really went on, Joe. That's what I'm getting to. I want the dirt. I want how Duke built a powerhouse. I want to know all the shady shit that happened. That's what I want to know. I know people don't want to talk about it, but I do. I want to know. No way they got all these guys. And I know some stuff has come out. All the Zion stuff. What, 46 years? I'm just saying every single person of power and politician, they create these clean images. And I know I'm blasphemizing Coach K right now, and everybody is basically putting him up on a pedestal. What really went on in Duke those last 46 years? We're talking about Winning Time, the new HBO show, or we're about to talk about it. I want to know the behind the scenes of Durham.
I feel like you do know, though, right? Like, I feel like we just know how this works. Money, right?
Probably.
Like gifts. I mean, I guess just watch Blue Chips. One of the most underrated sports movies of all time.
I couldn't agree more.
One of the most underrated sports movies of all time. I'm gonna take a word out of that review. One of the most underrated movies of all time. It's a good movie.
It is a good movie.
It's a great sports movie.
It is. It's a, and it really is. I saw it in the theater. It came out in 94. I can tell you, I saw it in the now defunct theater. Showcase Cinemas in Eastgate. I saw it with my mom, I think, and my brother.
And it was a cable staple for years. I mean, I've probably seen it 50 times.
It's a good movie. It's I want to play a clip from it now.
If you guys haven't seen Blue Chips, you have to see it. It is so good. Nick Nolte, man. I mean, Nick Nolte had a run where Nick Nolte was like, I mean, I can't. What's the NBA equivalent of Nick Nolte? Where he had a run there where he was just, I mean, he would carry movies by himself. It was like, I don't know, like I'm trying to think of an NBA example, like a Dame Lillard. He was like a Dame Lillard for a minute there.
Yeah, no, he was good, but it was a good cast. Shaq was good. Penny Hardaway was good in it.
Yeah,
the woman, didn't she win an Oscar? The woman from
there's no way that woman won an Oscar.
Not from that movie, but from Dances with Wolves. Did she win one of Dances with Wolves?
I don't know.
I bet she was nominated. What's that actress's name who plays his ex-wife in this?
I have no idea.
Mary McDonnell? Am I just crazy to thinking that she would have won?
I mean, Dances with Wolves did get like absurd love that year.
Yeah, look at me on a deep dive. Yeah, I'm correct.
Watch Blue Chips. She won an Oscar.
She did not win, but I said at least
nominated.
Okay. She was nominated for Best Supporting Actress in that movie.
Yeah, that's more reasonable. That was gonna be the biggest Dirty Sports podcast shocker in a while. She got an Oscar.
Let's play.
If she got an Oscar and John Morant can't get into MVP tweets,
I'm gonna play a clip. This is when Nick Nolte goes he watched. I don't. This might be a shitty clip. I don't know. I'm just into YouTube on clips. This is when he meets what was his name? Neon Boudreaux. That was Shaq's character.
Neon Boudreaux. Yeah.
Where he goes to greet him in like Louisiana.
Yeah. I remember he's like playing hoops in like they've got him in like a farmhouse and like the rim is like made out of like fucking wicker and shit.
That's what this is. This is when he goes and sees him again. This movie came out in '94. Yeah, if you haven't seen Blue Chips, this is
the Van Morrison song that leads up to that.
Even the clip, I wish you could see it.
On that midnight train.
Yeah, here we go. It's just like a chain link.
So he's playing basketball. It's not even. It's like a warehouse. It's like an empty warehouse that has a hoop.
Like an empty bayou warehouse.
Yeah. And they're just. He just blocked a shot, which was a clear goaltending.
Yeah.
You're right. The chain hoop. Dude,
I like that the clip you picked is.
He's quick. He's got big hands. Watch how he moves away from the
ball. Hold on. That's when he meets him.
Did you ever think about going to college?
I thought about it a few times.
All right. There's a thing called Proposition 48, which says that if your grades aren't up to par, you can take the SATs, and if you score 700 or more, you can get into college. Would you be willing to take the test again?
I don't know, man. Them tests are culturally biased.
Well, everything is culturally biased, Neon. I'm just trying to get you in college.
If I couldn't play basketball, would you be trying to get me in college?
No.
At least you're honest.
Shaq's so thin in this.
Yeah.
And Shaq.
Assemblies of God.
Pentecostal? Hell, I grew up in the Pentecostal church.
Shaq next to Nick Nolte is really amazing. Anyway, that was probably the worst clip I could have chosen.
Ruth, they're only music-based clips.
No,
3 pieces of dialogue.
That was a terrible clip. They weren't giving me.
I'd like you to go to college. You're trying to get me to college if I can't hoop.
Yeah, but like you said, definitely a movie to watch if you haven't.
So good.
With
I believe if I'm not mistaken, that was the Penny Shaq. That was Penny Shaq pre-Magic. Like they were not actually paired yet. That was their first connection, was like filming that. Then they get paired together.
Really? So, okay. So I am curious. So 94. Let's see here. No, they were playing together.
No, but a movie comes out 2 years after it's filmed. You know what I mean?
Well, no, the movie came out in 94.
Okay.
They were on the Magic, the 93-94 season.
Yeah, I'm telling you.
You don't think they had played ball before they filmed that?
I don't think Anthony Hardaway was a member of the Orlando Magic prior to joining the cast of Blue Chips, if I recall properly.
Let's see. Let's see.
Somebody can do the deep dive.
And you know what's interesting? Casting in that was the former Indiana player who like didn't go pro, but they cast him as Ricky Rowe. Do you remember his name?
Yeah, no.
Matt Nover, former Indiana basketball player. And he actually played it well too.
Yeah.
I love his line when he says, I want one of them big bags filled of cash.
Yeah. So good.
Yeah.
How did we get on Blue Chips?
I don't know, but it's a good segue to the new show on the Lakers from HBO.
Yeah. Speaking of sports, basketball dramedies, I sent it to you yesterday. I said, this is airing tonight. You watched it.
I did.
What was your thoughts?
I liked it. So it's called Winning Time, The Rise of the Lakers Dynasty.
Couldn't be called Showtime because it's on HBO.
Yeah.
So they went with Winning Time. I would have just gone with Showtime anyway. I'd have been like, fuck it. Showtime's not really a threat to us.
Sure. No, for sure. I mean, I liked it, and it's gonna, this, and I'm learning, and that's what's important for me in this. Like, I'm learning. This is before my time with, as far as like I don't know much about the 80s Lakers. I obviously know Showtime.
It definitely gives you some stuff. And then like a lot of this is stuff that I have read stories of and whatever. But then what's interesting is I haven't read the book by, former Joe Prano podcast guest and hopefully future Dirty Sports guest, Jeff Pearlman. He wrote the book about the Showtime Lakers. He had that option for this. So he, it's based on Jeff Pearlman's book. I'm sure a lot of this stuff is in there. And it's interesting because I've heard all of these stories, the coin flip and Magic going back to school and Bird going back to school and all this stuff before. But getting the details, apparently it's like pretty seriously, pretty legit based on his book. The one thing I did not know, and I think so far the best character by far is Jerry West.
Wild.
Who didn't want Magic Johnson. That's like almost crazy to think of because it's almost like Jerry West has never missed, but he almost missed in the biggest sense you could ever miss.
Yeah. So the book again is called Showtime: Magic, Kareem Riley, and the Los Angeles Lakers Dynasty of the 1980s. So Jeff Pearlman wrote that and it was published in 2014. And they're now making it a comedy. Would you call it? What do you call it? Like it's
I call it a dramedy.
A dramedy. John C. Reilly plays Jerry Buss, and
I think John C. Reilly is great.
Oh, he's amazing. So, they started off. They're basically going to where Magic Johnson has just won the title for Michigan State. And you're right. It's wild. I had to look it up. I was sending you some articles.
It starts with Magic Johnson getting HIV.
Sure.
Basically getting his diagnosis and then boom, cut backwards.
That's where the book ends, just FYI. So that's where the book actually ends. Like he takes the 80s Lakers up until Magic Johnson tests positive for HIV. But again, there's some wild things in it. I encourage everybody who has HBO Max to watch it. Wild things, like Joe said, that's true. They did a coin flip, guys. They did a coin flip. Let me just repeat this. They did a actual coin flip to determine whether the Chicago Bulls or LA Lakers got the number one pick for that draft.
And the craziest part of that next season is Magic and Bird are rookies together after playing in the national title game in college against one another. But Bird had been drafted the year before, 6th overall to the Celtics. decides to go back to school. The Celtics retain his rights until a certain day. Bird goes through a major like contract negotiation, says he like demands to be like the highest paid rookie ever, the highest paid, I think maybe the highest paid Celtic. The Celtics like scoff at that, but then eventually cave. So Bird is a rookie the same year, even though he doesn't come out in that draft. And then they institute a rule, which we now know today. Like basically you can't get an agent and you can't, once you declare for the draft, you can't go back to college. It's like the Bird college rule or whatever it is. So it's crazy because people go back to that draft. Like, I mean, these guys forever linked Bird Magic, essentially not just, I don't even want to say save the NBA, but like make the NBA.
They did.
And they come out together and they play together in that last college game, but not in the same draft class.
Yeah. I mean, the whole thing is pretty crazy. So the Lakers were actually good the year before.
Right.
So I just want to explain why they had the number one pick. The Lakers went 47-35. So they made the playoffs the year before, but they had done a trade with at the time, New Orleans Jazz.
In case you were wondering why the Utah are called the Jazz.
Yes.
When they only listen to white Christian rock.
Yes.
In Utah.
Creed is really popular in Utah right now. So they had done a trade a few years earlier, which gave them the rights to that pick. And again, they were coming off.
And the Lakers like, we accept the rights to that pick with arms wide open.
That's our first ever Creed reference on Dirty Sports. Now back-to-back Creed references. This is impressive. You know what Creed? It's funny you said. You know what Creed was big? They were, obviously I went to a Catholic high school, a Jesuit high school. When we do like religious retreats, that was always.
Oh yeah, sure.
Because Creed was popular, and the teachers were like, "Yeah, we're really hip. We're gonna go do a spiritual journey. We're gonna play Creed for the kids."
Yeah.
Anyway. They get the number one pick, which literally, and you watching the show, was decided over a coin flip done in New York with the commissioner. Chicago and LA owners are on speakerphone on a coin flip. Guys, this is where the NBA was at in 1979. I just want people to realize this is where the league was at in 79.
Yeah. I mean, just think about the trajectory. I'd almost argue like if Magic Johnson goes to the Bulls, the butterfly effect of that happening,
because they were a terribly run organization.
I mean, he probably turns them around, but Bird immediately like brings championship level value to the Celtics. I don't think the Bulls compete just because they have Magic Johnson on that level. Even if they do, you don't get the East Coast, West Coast rivalry. You don't get it in the finals. Like even if he did turn them around, then you would figure 6 years later, 5 years later, whatever it is, they're not so bad that they get the number one overall pick. Michael Jordan doesn't end up in Chicago.
I mean, the butterfly effect really is crazy, and you can't understate this for anybody who's studied.
You can't understate the fact that two good NBA teams get Bird and Magic in back-to-back drafts because Boston was way better than even getting the 6th pick where they draft Bird.
Yeah.
They also acquired that, I think.
The NBA finals used to be on tape delay.
Yeah.
I just want to put this in context for everyone.
I mean, even the NHL finals is live on HGTV.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, it wasn't live. The NBA finals in like the 70s and early 80s was on tape delay. That was the level status.
Like even the Stanley Cup finals will only be delayed for a couple minutes if the Real Housewives of Beverly Hills after show runs long.
Sure.
But it's mostly live.
Even the Lakers. It's funny. I was shocked, and they show this in the first episode. Even though the Lakers were good, and obviously at that point the Lakers already had the history. They already had the players. They had the names. They had already won a bunch of titles. I guess they hadn't won a bunch in LA, but
they'd won one in that run.
Yeah,
of Jerry West losing over and over and over.
But they highlight this in the show. The Lakers were only averaging at the Forum a little over 11,000 fans a game out of 17, 18,000. So even though they were a good team and they had Kareem, they had Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, the UCLA kid.
Yeah.
There still was not the fanfare that Magic brought to the table. And then the Showtime Lakers, and obviously Pat Riley then comes along. But Jerry West is fascinating. I wonder how accurate this is if he was a lunatic.
I know, it's crazy because Jerry West is, a soft-spoken guy now and doesn't really seem to, but like the way they portray him is that it's an absolute lunatic. I mean, Jeff Pearlman is on Twitter and he was doing sort of like AMA last night, and on questions that he didn't essentially want to answer, but like wanted to answer in the affirmative, he would just be like, cough, cough. But basically he has sort of said, yeah, like this is an accurate portrayal of Jerry West, which is wild.
Yeah, you're right. He is a soft-spoken guy, but he's intense. And I think that's why people get to where they are at that level.
And he's like a West Virginia kid. And like, like he was certainly known as like being a fiery, like player.
I mean, let's look at some people we know from West Virginia who are intense. Jerry West, Nick Saban, Bob Huggins. Like, I'm just naming guys like who are from there, who are like
the D'Antoni brothers.
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I think it's good. Now, I want to ask you this.
Yeah.
How do you feel about this style when they break the fourth wall?
I don't love it. So what I thought would be interesting when they did it, it's okay. First of all, that's a very Adam McKay thing that's happened in, we've seen it in The Big Short. We've seen it in whatever. I kind of would have liked it if it was just Jerry Buss.
I agree.
They have it. They kind of overdid it. And also I think they overdid that. And I think they overdid the camera changes.
I agree as well.
Like, I don't mind there being like one of the coolest, like kind of technical choices I thought was you see it in a lot of things. A lot of times things will jump to film and be like, oh, it gives a film look, gives it a totally different style. This being an 80s thing, it uses like a beta cam look for certain things. And I kind of like that. I was like, oh, that's really cool. I just wish it was used like for some sort of reason, like anything we were seeing through I don't know, a TV, like recordings point of view, like a press conference or game footage or whatever. Show me the beta cam for that. But like for you to be on the golf course watching Jerry West freak out, and then it goes to a wide shot that's just like beta cam. I'm like, what the fuck is happening here? It's kind of like weirdly confusing.
Yeah.
But otherwise, I think it's great. It's obviously overly like they've made it funnier. They've made it like a little bit more over the top, but I like it. But I feel like it could have been dialed back in a couple places and still been better. But it's also the first episode.
Yeah, no, for sure. And
we'll see what happens.
Like you said, everything so far, even in the first episode, it's very on brand of an Adam McKay show or movie. What's crazy is a lot of this is accurate. I don't want to give too much away, but they take some creative liberty and change things around a little. But the whole episode of Magic Johnson and the fish lunch with his dad and the Lakers owner, that happened. And I sent you an article on that from the LA Times.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of Jerry Buss was not there. It was Chick Hearns who saved that. But there was a lot of accurate things in the first episode. And again, it's just wild how Jerry West didn't even want Magic and he wanted Sidney Moncrief. And again, the butterfly effect of everything.
And Jerry Buss just generally like, what's for sure accurate. I don't know how accurate the financials of it are, but like him essentially putting everything on the line to acquire the Los Angeles Lakers. And now, I mean, what an absolute legendary move, right?
Yeah.
Because you're getting in at a time right before it. And it's not tackled in the sense of like, I'm going to get Magic Johnson and they're going to get Larry Bird and this is going to save the league. The dude just like loved basketball and like wants in.
Yeah. So, I mean, obviously he'd been very successful in real estate and some other ventures. I had to go to his Wikipedia today. So they don't go into that as far as how he needed money from his ex-wife and they needed more in cash, but he did purchase. This is going to blow people's mind, obviously, because what the Lakers are valued at now and pro sports in general. So he bought for $67.5 million in 1979. He acquired not only the Lakers, the LA Kings, but also the Forum. So he got all three from that purchase for just $67.5 million.
I mean, talk about investments.
Wild. I think about this, people are always like, if you could go back in time, mine would be a sports franchise. The value of these teams now, because of the TV deals, you talk about return on investment. There's like no better return on investment than professional sports teams. And you see it. And that's absolutely nuts. So when he died in 2012, he has 6 kids. They all got, so he owns 66% of the Lakers. They all got 11%, which I think still holds up. But his daughter, Jeannie runs a team now and she has, I've always crushed on her.
Yeah.
I fell down a rabbit. I didn't know this.
I think she dates Jay Moore.
Does she?
I think so.
She posed in Playboy in 95.
Oh yeah. I knew that.
I didn't know that. I was looking at those.
And I believe the Buss family now owns the Ice House.
Do they?
Yeah.
I spent a little time looking at her. She was like nude in the old Forum for some of the pics.
Yeah.
Yeah. I do my thorough research.
Sounds like it.
But
so you were a little late to the podcast this morning.
Yeah.
You're like, we got to do 10:30 instead of 10 a.m. I'm researching Jeannie Buss's Playboys.
Well, I'm also currently watching the A&E Playboy Secrets.
Okay.
So now I'm like curious, which I have not been too impressed at this point.
I don't even know what that is, but
they're trying, it was a whole thing of what really went on. And Hef was not he championed himself on women's rights and women's liberation. And they're saying, and I'm not surprised. A lot of shady shit that went down at the mansion and with the girls but my thing is overall, and I'll just say it, and I don't think it's wrong to say, it doesn't justify bad things that happened. But my argument always is that happened in every profession to women in the 70s and 80s. Do you see my point? Like you're making, Playboy is so bad. I'm like, dude, every place was awful for women. Like you could just blanket statement that, don't you think? Like,
sure,
every place was awful for women. But anyway, I don't want to jump into that too much, but I think this is going to be good. I agree. I like it. The fourth wall as well. I was like, there's a lot of this, but overall, love John C. Reilly. I love the Donald Sterling cameo.
Yeah.
And great. How about the cameo from former Dirty Sports guest
David Zucker? Yeah. Nice cameo during the airplane shooting sequence,
which I like.
It was great to see my good friend David.
Yeah, it was cool to see that. And I like what I like about this show is I looked it up. A lot of these guys are no names. I'm not trying to disrespect them by saying no names. I'm just saying actors. The guy playing Magic Johnson is a former college football player. And I think the guy playing Kareem was also a former college athlete. Like they're getting guys who don't have much acting experience.
And it's good because, you have to, it needs to be like a little bit believable. It does take me out of it. Like if Kareem was played by a guy who was 6'1" and everybody else is standing in a hole, I'm like, this is bullshit. You know what I mean? And I'm constantly looking at that stuff. I mean, the dude, who's the dude who plays on Ballers? You know, the kid who plays the Denzel Washington's kid.
John David Washington.
Yeah. Like, what's he, 5'7"? You look at him and you're like, all right, dude, you're not an NFL wide receiver.
Yeah. I know what you're saying. But that's a great point. They don't do that with this show.
Right. 5'9". John David Washington is 5'9".
He's me.
Yeah. Elite NFL wide receiver.
Yeah.
Nate Robinson. Like, I mean, it's really like, it's insane. And I think that's important. Like, to me, and this goes back to Blue Chips, dude. Blue Chips is the best movie because they were like, listen, let's just get guys who have at least college level basketball ability and then hope that they can fucking act. You get all the takes in the world to do it. Just figure it out. It's better than putting, it's why it's amazing that Tug Coker's not in this show, to be totally honest with you.
Is Larry?
Yeah, as whoever.
Yeah.
How is he not in the show? And as as Rick Carlisle on the Celtics, you know what I mean? Like,
and then we, Bill Walton. Who would play Bill Walton?
Yeah, that should be the Will Ferrell cameo because I think Will Ferrell was in the mix for Bus.
They had a huge fallout. Did you know this?
Who did?
Dude, I just learned this.
McKay and Ferrell?
They don't even talk anymore.
Wow. I did not know that.
So they have, what is it? Gary Sanchez. Gary Sanchez Productions. And they've still, they still obviously do stuff, but they don't work. They like Ferrell.
Because of this? Because of this? Really?
That's part of it.
Wow.
He wanted to play Jerry Buss. And I think this was the final straw. And he gave it to John C. Reilly, who's also one of his close friends. And I could be wrong. I don't know if this had a fallout now with John C. Reilly. Because Ferrell's boys, but him and Adam McKay are like, don't even talk anymore. I read some articles on it. I kind of forget, but I read that Adam McKay was like, dude, I've reached out. He just won't even talk to me now.
That's crazy.
I think he really wanted to play. And
John C. Reilly's pretty good.
That role fits John C. Reilly better.
Jerry Buss, for like the quote unquote like playboy that he was not that good looking a guy. It was simply the money. You know what I mean? His hair is ludicrous. He looks like our boy Doug James. Yeah. So like Will Ferrell obviously has like a very, Will Ferrell. I don't think there's a lot of women out there who are like, Will Ferrell is my like peak man, but like Will Ferrell is like a tall, like handsome-ish guy. Like John C. Reilly fits it better. And I think does a good job.
Yeah. No,
and Will Ferrell, like
agree.
walking around at like 6'5" or whatever with all these guys, it just, again, it kind of just doesn't work.
Yeah. No, I agree.
And I love Will Ferrell.
Yeah, me too. I mean, I guess I will say this much, and I don't know if you read that article. It kind of stinks that, Jeff Berman was saying how, Jeannie Buss helped him so much with his book, so much. And she even came in, he teaches at a college, I don't know if he still does, but he did. And she even came in a few times. They were that close to speak. But the minute this was going to TV, and he says that, like, just communication was cut off. Which sucks because he even said, like, this was based on his book. He says in that article, like, I wasn't really a part of.
Yeah. There's a old Hollywood joke. Did you hear the one about the Polish actress? She fucked the writer.
Yeah.
It's like, he didn't even write the show. He wrote the book that's based on the show.
Yeah.
It's like the joke is like the writer fucking almost has nothing to do with it, let alone the writer of the property that was optioned.
Yeah. So I guess she, because of, I guess, how, but that's what her dad was. Jerry Buss he was a playboy. He lived
and everybody knows that. Everybody who knows sports. I mean, I'm sure part of her concern is that like when you have a show on HBO, this opens it up to a whole world of people that would have never known it, haven't read the articles, haven't read the books, haven't seen the documentaries, haven't whatever, that are just now going to be like, oh, that was Jerry Buss. And obviously they're making a caricature of him and they're whatever. I mean, at the end of the episode, he's drunk on the center court of the Forum,
Yeah.
So.
But I mean, there's those pictures. If you just put Jerry Buss and Playboy into Google Images, and I've seen a lot of these, it's like, these were already out there. And I understand she's trying to protect her dad's legacy, but like you said, everyone knew. And then I guess Magic as well wanted no part of this, and I guess wanted no part of the book. But I'll say, even from episode 1, I think Magic would watch this and be like, what's wrong with this? Or
right. And listen, we haven't gotten to the part in the thing where I don't think anybody thinks he got HIV from being, exclusive to his wife.
Sure.
Right. So we haven't gotten to the part where Magic Johnson becomes a star in Los Angeles and starts to act out in whatever that way that is. But Magic Johnson also just like a guy with a brand. Magic Johnson not wanting to be like, listen, you lived it. Well, like to be a part. I understand him not wanting to be a part of the book in the first place and therefore not the movie. But what's crazy is Jeannie Buss supporting, and then being like, nah, fuck it, I'm out. I don't care what people who have the ability to read think of my father, but the people who only watch television, that's who I'm really concerned about.
But we all do know that, right? Visual is different.
Yeah.
You read something, it's a lot different than seeing it.
Yeah.
So again, if you have HBO Max or HBO.
I liked it. I liked it a lot. I didn't love it, but I'm hopeful. I'm hopeful that it's going to find its legs and like become a thing. Cause I think even from the beginning of the episode to the end of the episode, it got better.
Yeah. And just so you know, this first season is just going to be about that 79-80 Lakers team that won.
And there may or may not be I think it's like,
it has not been picked up for
marketed as a mini series right now.
Yes. It has not been picked up for a second season.
Yeah.
And I mean, realistically, you could cover, the Lakers won 5 titles over that 80 span. I mean, you could cover.
And Jeff, what I do know is they've already optioned 3 Ring Circus, which is his second Lakers book about the Kobe Shaq era.
Sure.
Just as like a JIC, just in case situation,
Sure. Yeah. So I'm like you. I look forward to seeing how this plays out and learning some things. And I think it's obviously cool for us. You still live there. I lived there for 14 years. It's just cool seeing all the stuff in LA, and it's cool thinking again from a grander scheme where the NBA was at. You just, again, cannot understate it enough what Larry Bird and Magic Johnson did to think that just 40 years ago, these games were on delay.
I mean, like it's always said that there's probably no one sole person who had a bigger impact on the NBA. Well, I mean, people who really know say David Stern, but like from a player standpoint, people go, no one had a bigger effect on the NBA than Michael Jordan. But the bottom line is there is no effect on the NBA from Larry Bird without Magic and vice versa. Like it was the rivalry, the Celtics, Lakers, the duo, the whatever. But I would argue that that duo combined had infinitely more effect on the NBA than Michael Jordan. Like there is no NBA for Michael Jordan to affect without those guys.
Well, you got to walk, you got to learn how to walk before you run, right?
Yeah.
It's like, that's kind of what it was. Like you said, there's
Michael Jordan can't Michael Jordan, the combo of Michael Jordan and David Stern can't make NBA a global game until it's an American game, till it's on TV in America.
Yeah.
And it goes back like furthermore, almost for basketball in general, because obviously college basketball, there's a time prior to like the major professional sports leagues besides Major League Baseball. Obviously, that's been around for hundreds of years at this point. But the NFL, the NBA, like college sports, college football and college basketball were forever bigger than college football or than professional football and professional basketball.
Sure.
So those guys do it also in a way by like getting on the map in the championship game versus each other. It like started before they were even in the NBA and said like, hey guys, you know us from your favorite show. Come join us on our new show.
Yeah, no, for sure.
And that's been Dirty Sports Talks Television.
Yeah, it's a good little segment. Well, in
we're gonna have to get Tug Coker on for his. Maybe we do a second episode review with Tug Coker.
I'm all for it.
Or a TC minute. The guy loves his TV.
Well, and especially
the TC TV update.
Well, especially with an actor, an actual actor
who played Larry Bird.
Yeah,
and should be playing Rick Carlisle as an extra in in the final scenes.
In NBA adjacent news to the WNBA, to the Russian League, enough dirtballs DM me that I have to mention this. Brittany Griner has been detained in Russia for possibly 3+ weeks.
I have seen this headline multiple times. Incredibly lazy by me not to do it. But what is Brittany Griner even doing in Russia? She's playing off-season professional hoops elsewhere.
She makes $1 million over there, Joe.
Right. But she plays in Russia.
Correct. She plays a lot of these.
Yeah. Do double duty in a foreign league.
Because they just make more money. Her salary in the States is $250 grand. She makes $1 million, and a lot, most of the women who are good go over there. Now, as most people can imagine, the State Department had issued a level 4 do not travel advisory for Russia, even before the war started with Ukraine. But she was detained. It's classic stuff you'd see. They'll look for anything to detain somebody, especially of a country that they don't like right now. So she was detained. What she have? She had
a vape.
She had a vape. Let me pull it up. Man, that's a terrible way to be detained. They found vape cartridges that contained oil derived from cannabis, crime that carries a maximum penalty of 10 years in prison. So who knows what's going on over there? But
where is Brittany Griner and Peng Shui? Also, since we're still talking about it,
that would be terrifying, man. Like, you don't know where you are, where you're getting out. I don't even know how that, I don't know how that works.
I just assume it's like something out of a Bond film. She's being kept in like a wet, damp Siberian prison. Some guy coming in there with it. Hello, Miss Griner. We need to know all of your secrets. She's like, I don't know anything. I'm a WNBA player.
Tell me how you drop step and dunk the ball.
We need all of your State Department secrets. I play women's basketball. They don't even our games are still on tape delay.
I've been waiting my whole life. Are you a man or a woman? I need to know. Cancel. I know. It is funny though, the amount of DMs I got on that one. I think those are like old school dirt balls when we've talked about her. But not a place I'd want to be. And I did have to laugh because then
not a place I'd want to be. I mean, is there like the most captain obviously a Russian prison during wartime. Not a place I want to be.
Wouldn't choose it. Definitely not. But then, of course, the discussion of pay you probably didn't see it. Of course, the discussion of what these women make in the WNBA was brought up, and it was like, if they were paid more, she wouldn't be locked in a Russian prison. I'm like, well, that's a very complicated issue, and that's not the answer as well. It's a little deeper than just pay them more, but we've already discussed that at length. But yeah, that was making the headlines the other day. Another thing I want to discuss that I saw, speaking of headlines, I saw just today. I was a little shocked by this. Amazon is going to hire Kirk Herbstreit as their Thursday Night Football analyst. So Amazon now gets the exclusive rights for the NFL on Thursday.
Okay.
They're going to hire a college analyst to be the lead.
I like Herbstreit.
I do too.
I mean, it's not the flashiest thing ever, but I like it. I mean, I have no problem with Kirk Herbstreit. I prefer to like a lot of the other moves that we've seen out there in terms of broadcasting. It seems like all these guys are just pushing so hard and trying to like get these people that are like move the needle a little bit. And it's like, to be totally honest with you, does the NFL need to move the needle? Like, I feel like this is exactly what people who are broadcasting NFL games should do, which is just like get somebody who's not going to annoy you, get somebody you like, get somebody you trust, get somebody whatever. The game sells itself.
I agree, but the argument somebody would say is obviously he's been great on college football. The argument is like, dude, he played at Ohio State. He never played in the NFL. He fits the college mold. He's done the college thing for what, 15 years now?
Yeah.
Some people might say, can I get a former NFL player?
I mean, but is it really that different to like Brian Greasy? Okay, Brian Greasy played a couple seasons. Like, you know what I mean? It's like, he's analyzing the games. It's not the same game as it was when the greatest fucking duo of all time was, John Madden. And you had Pat Summerall. It's like a drunk former kicker. It's like, I feel like the fact of the matter is, I know Booger played in the NFL for a minute, right? But like, I never need to hear Booger again.
Yeah. So I'll be curious who they team with him. They're saying they might even just go with the possibility of Fowler, who calls the games with him, who has forever, Chris Fowler on college football, or like a Buck. I don't know. Like I was reading a lot today that the movement is swift. Like ESPN might try to nab Buck to stick him with Aikman to keep that duo.
Right.
Al Michaels is still the rumor was they wanted Al Michaels forever. Amazon did. Right. And that they're still in negotiation. So if that would happen, it'd be Michaels and Herbstreit. So there's a lot happening. But I said this to you before we went live. The announcer empowerment is real now, just like the player empowerment in these leagues. These guys are making insane amounts of money. Romo gets $17 million a year. It's $1 million a week. Aikman's new contract, they say, is going to be in that realm. These guys are making a lot of money because the money's there for these TV deals, which is insane. So they have the leverage. Just 10 years ago, Kirk Herbstreit would not be able to work for ESPN and Amazon. It just wouldn't allow that.
Right.
But now he's like, dude, I'm that big. I can. I have 1 million Twitter followers or whatever he has. I can do this. College Game Day is that big. So it'll be interesting to play out. I also saw they released the division odds for next year. And the big headline was that the Cincinnati Bengals, according to Las Vegas, are not the early favorites to win that division. A big discussion here in Cincinnati that's happened with a lot of people in my world on that.
I mean, is that I feel like the only people butthurt about this are Bengals fans, right? Like, look at the NFL from year to year. Who fucking does repeat as division champs?
Yeah, the Ravens are plus 175. The Bengals are plus 200. Browns plus 320. Steelers plus 500. Well, the thing going against the Bengals is a first place schedule.
Right.
And like you said, the Super Bowl runner-up hangover is real. I mean, it just is. It's real.
Right.
And the Ravens have a much easier schedule, and the Ravens have history on their side as far as just a franchise.
Yeah. To me, it's like, honestly, being plus 175 and plus 200, it's basically saying it's a coin flip for that between those two teams. But like, I mean, if you're the Bengals, like, who gives a shit? Universally picked to finish last this year, and you won the division, went to the Super Bowl. So maybe you don't want to be the favorites.
Yeah.
And this, like, respect us. Who cares? It's bulletin board material, if anything.
Sure. I don't know, man.
This is the kind of shit that fans get wrapped up in. That, like, to all you Bengals fans out there, you shouldn't care. And if you do, I don't know, man. I get Reds baseball isn't back yet or whatever, but like, I don't know. Get a hobby.
Tons of amazing chili parlors around town. They're everywhere. You know what? I don't want to jinx. I've been running my mouth a little about them. Like, they're not going to make the playoffs. This hangover is going to be real. I don't know if that's my hate. I have been deemed the #1 Mike Brown hater of all of Cincinnati, and I wear that with pride. I do. I take that as a badge of honor.
I mean, I think most Cincinnati Bengals fans who listen to our show right now are on the edge of their seat, hoping that you predict they don't make the playoffs next year. I think everybody who believes in the Ruther curse is like, yeah, give it to me.
Well, I learned one of my neighbors is I haven't really talked to him much. He's like on my side with the Mike. I was like blown away. He's like, I gave up rooting for them, and he went on the whole Brown family thing, and I was like, what? Where have you been the last year and a half? Who knew? People living basically across the street from me share my sentiment.
He's like, we had a tough couple years. We had a tough couple years. A few years ago, some guy just destroyed our car as it was parked in the street. We didn't know what happened. We had some insurance claims we had to deal with. We just came out and our car was on fire. No sign of anything that happened. So yeah, it's been a rough couple of years, but you know, we're back on pace now. So yeah, I've just been dealing with that paperwork.
Never forget, Joe. Never forget. When I told you that. Did you ever see the car?
Oh, I saw the car. I saw the car.
You saw the car?
Yeah, yeah.
Oh, I saw.
Honestly, it's amazing with the damage done to that car that the car that did the damage could still even drive on to continue doing more damage.
I've never seen a car in more shambles than that car.
Those poor people. Imagine coming out one morning and just being like, how? You're like looking for a tree that fell on your car or something. Like, how did this happen?
How fast do you think he was going when he hit that
Honestly,
car?
It must have been like through police investigate. They must have tied those two together, right? I feel like we need an update on that situation. Can you know who slide into our DMs? Did they ever connect you to the original car?
They had to have.
They had to have, right? Or is there some detective out there who's still just like racking his brain about what happened?
You know what's crazy about this show? Now that I think about it, you and I have been at the centerpiece of like a lot of crimes.
Talk about the butterfly effect.
No, but think about it. Like, there's that. There's Yoshi. Don't forget the Nate Craig stuff, which he said on air, like 2014, 2015.
Yeah.
Which then was brought up in court.
Yeah.
Like, there's been a lot of things on this show that have made their way into the legal world or the the crime world. Do you remember the look on your face?
Don't forget, you know who going on a shit throwing spree.
True.
forced then into the military, now tasked with being on a SEAL team to get Brittany Griner out of Russia.
True.
They're like, you're going to go in, you're going to throw shit at Putin. It's going to get in his eyes. We'll grab the basketball player. Just kidding. That kid isn't involved in any sort of military conflict whatsoever. He's just sitting in a room somewhere being a fucking
asshole. Do you remember? I had one last thing on the.
He was ahead of his time, though. Memphis really looks like they finally found something.
They did. Do you remember when we went to Buffalo Wild Wings later that day and the road was closed and the telephone pole was down?
Oh, yeah.
But do you remember? I looked at you and I said,
"No, you think?"
And you said, "No way, no way, no way." The same person that wrecked that car on your street then took out a telephone pole and blocked a road. Sure enough. Yeah, we need an update on that. So, you know who you are. Can you please go? I hope you're all right. I mean, it's been 6 years. I hope things have changed for the better. You know, we all have defining moments in our life. Yeah. I was at dinner the other night and we were discussing that, and people were questioning, asking me about the old brain injury, and I'm coming up on 8 years on April 5th. And I was like, that was one of the most defining moments of my life. And, obviously it changed me for the better. Old droopy face. We remember how that looked.
Yeah.
What were some of the nicknames you gave me?
I mean, obviously we have Den Head. We had Vanilla Sky.
Vanilla Sky. Chris Wilde had some good ones.
Oh, yeah. Oh, Chris Wilde called you Stroke Voldemort.
Oh, that was a good one.
Yes. Because he refused to say your real name. Still to this day, he won't say your real name, so he says Stroke Voldemort.
That was a good one. Yeah. I show people those pictures and they're like, what? This was you? It's like, yeah, this was me. Should we get to a couple calls and then wrap this bad boy up?
Let's do it.
310-359-8365. That is the hotline. This is a deep question to start, Joe. This might be a tough one off the top of your head, but I'll play it.
What's up, fellas? This is Jew. Just fun. I know it's a slow time in sports, and now with the news of baseball and stuff. I was wondering if you could go back into time and have dinner with anybody. Who would it be? Would it be a sports guy, a movie guy, dead or alive? I want to have dinner with any president, any ex-president, because I want to know all the fucking secrets. I want to know where we kept the aliens, who really shot JFK, and is Trump really like a Russian spy? But let me know what you guys think. Later.
I mean, dinner with anybody.
It's tough.
I don't even know where you start.
Yeah, I don't really know where you start either. Like, I'm trying to think in terms of like just across the board.
So I like history. I'm like a huge history guy. And I started thinking about that. I'm like, do you go like with like a Caesar or Alexander the Great, or like, I'm just thinking like,
but then there's like a whole like historical divide. Do you even get to like, can you even talk on the same level?
Yeah. Do you go with Genghis Khan? Like, do you go with like Thomas Jefferson? It's, do you go with someone who was awful? Like, do you have dinner with Hitler?
Dinner with Hitler.
like, I don't know, just some of these like Stalin, Mao Zedong, like people who, like, what's it like to talk to somebody who caused so much atrocity? And I don't know.
I feel like I'd want to. I feel like I'd want to. My thing, I would definitely be taking it from the creative realm. I think
Okay.
I'd for sure want to have dinner. If I could have dinner with anybody, it would be somebody that was like highly creative. That would be the interesting thing for me. Honestly, I think the person might be alive. It's wild. I think if I could have dinner with anybody, maybe we can make this happen.
Bill Walton.
We should start a hashtag. Ooh, Walton's good.
He would be good. He really would be good.
He would be really good. I think I maybe want to have dinner with RZA. Just so much, like so many levels of creativity there, from not just like obviously his own artistic work in like being a producer and a rapper, but also then the creativity behind putting together like the Wu-Tang and then kind of changing hip hop and changing culture, like just like, and then the Zen stuff and chess and like, I don't know. There's just so many layers of creativity there that I would want to dive into.
I mean, Bill Walton, we met him.
Hashtag dinner with RZA.
You love hashtags.
I do.
I mean, Walton would be great.
Walton would be great. He'd be in my top 10.
I think Dave Chappelle would be great for me.
Dave Chappelle would be great. Sure.
Now, if you could choose any Beatle, who would you choose?
Oh, no doubt.
You're going to say, I already know who you're going to say.
Who am I going to say?
You're not going with, most people will go McCartney or Lennon. You're not.
I'm going George Harrison for sure.
Exactly.
For sure. 100%. One of the most underrated fucking musicians of all time. I mean, just all the, like, I feel like he's the, I don't even know of, I mean, the heart and soul, like, I feel like for sure would go with George Harrison. Not even a question.
What about dead rappers? I don't think, because you talk about like I don't like a Biggie or Tupac would not be that interesting for me for dinner.
Yeah, I mean, Biggie, you should be fighting over the food. This guy, slow down, dude. I feel like it'd be a lot of talking with his mouth full. I don't know. I mean, who else is on that list?
I don't know. Like the founding fathers for me would be interesting, like a Thomas Jefferson or a Benjamin Franklin. Some people who had a vision of something that was pretty wild at the time and still is, if actually run the way things should be run. But like, I don't know. Like,
wouldn't you be like worried that you'd be halfway through dinner and you're like, bro, this dude's hella racist?
Well,
you're at dinner with Thomas Jefferson and like slaves are fucking serving dinner. You're like, you know what? I didn't really think this through. This is really uncomfortable.
Well, it's the same way I mentioned Genghis Khan earlier.
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah.
I mentioned Hitler. I'm just talking about like what it would be like to have dinner with somebody. I don't know. I mean, there's a lot to choose from.
Like David Letterman is my comedic lighthouse, but also it's like, I just don't like dinner with him would probably be miserable.
Yeah.
Bill Murray is like one of my favorite fucking, comedic people of all time. Dinner with him, I mean, probably exciting for like a minute. You know what I mean? Hunter Thompson, my favorite author, probably slurring his words before the entrees come.
Sure. All right. So CT left a bunch of calls. I have not listened. He left 4 calls yesterday. I don't know what was going on. There's a call before that though about minor league baseball. We have an update on him.
Okay.
And I think this will be good for us to talk, where we want to take our baseball fandom without without Major League Baseball.
Reno Ruther, CT, formerly from Seattle, lifelong Seattle Kraken fan, calling in to express my disgust with Major League Baseball. It's unbelievable. These clowns can't get his fucking season together. I called in at the beginning of last season to express how bad the Mariners have been, and And guess what? They missed the playoffs by one stinking game. One game. I was excited for this year. Mariners are going to be hopefully pretty good. I mean, they'd probably disappoint me, but of course it comes down to there's a goddamn lockout and I can't watch any Mariners baseball. But I may no longer be the official rental car Dirtball, but I got a job with a minor league baseball team. So Dirtballs, go support your minor league baseball teams, your independent league baseball team, your local college baseball teams. They're playing baseball. They're going to be out on the field when Major League Baseball is not. So, your favorite minor league or independent league this season. It's cheaper than Major League Baseball. Better giveaways, more creative games. They're just having fun. And if anyone ever wants to come out and watch a Tri-City Dust Devil baseball game, let me know. Get you in. Stay dirty.
You know, I think this is.
Was that the Tri-State Sun Devils?
I don't know who he's working for now. I think it's a team up in Washington. It's funny he left this call, though. I literally had this discussion with my friends here.
Tri-State Dust Devils.
Where are they located?
Pasco?
Where's
Washington? I don't know. They're currently an affiliate of the Los Angeles Angels.
Well, I had this discussion with my buddies. We said the same thing before I heard this call. We were like, look, man, there's some fun minor league teams by us. There's the Louisville River Bats. I've always wanted to see their stadium. You drive right by on the freeway. It's right on the river down there. Louisville's like 90 miles south. And my buddy was like, dude, why don't we do a road trip? Like, why don't we just go on a road trip to a random city or two, catch some minor league games? Like he's saying on the call, it's cheaper. The giveaways are better. You and I loved going down to Amarillo, Texas, down to Hodgetown for the sod poodles.
Yeah.
And just do that, you know?
Yeah, I love it. Support baseball.
And he's right. Like, you know, maybe I'll go catch a University of Cincinnati or Xavier baseball game. You know, it's right down the road. Because at this point, I just don't know when baseball is coming back.
Now, are the Tri-State, what do you say? Tri-City Dust Devils, are they the official minor league baseball team of the Dirty Sports Podcast, or are they added to the mix with the Sod Poodles?
Yeah, let's add them to the mix.
Yeah.
I mean, that's two dirt balls now that work for minor league teams. That's nice. We'll start covering teams from all over.
Yeah.
And the promotions could not be better for minor league. We've said this all along. I don't know why.
Love it.
I don't know why Major League Baseball doesn't adopt more of the same promotions and the more of the creative and also less serious tactics that minor league baseball does. Anyway, 310-359-8365. That's the hotline. I'll check your other four calls at another point, CT. I don't know what was going on there. I just, you left 4 calls. Something must be urgent. Follow us on Twitter and Instagram at The Dirty Sports. You can follow me at Andy Ruther, and you can go see Joe live.
That's right. Got some shows in and around Southern California the next couple of weeks. I'm home for a little while. It's been a wild time on the road, personally and with Eddie, of course. But here for the next couple of weeks. So go to joeprano.com and you can check out shows, LA, up in the Valley, San Diego, wherever, everywhere in between. And then, of course, early April, mid-April, I'll be in Colorado with Eddie. Slide into my DMs if you're anywhere near Steamboat Springs, if you're anywhere near Denver, or if you're anywhere near Vail, because we are going to be doing some skiing / snowboarding and comedy. And then otherwise, you can follow me on all social media at Joe Prano, except for Twitter, where I'm at Fix Your Life.
All right, guys, that's the show. As always, we thank everyone for supporting and listening. We'll see you guys on Thursday. Have a great start to your week. And as always, stay dirty.